This is getting to be a bit of a tradition. Each year at Paradox Convention, I sit down with you and we talk a little bit about what went on last year and what's going on with the year ahead. But I'd like to start off things traditionally and talk about last year. What kind of year was it for Paradox?
2012 was a consolidation year. We built the company. We found a platform to release better and bigger games, and we employed a lot of people to actually make this happen. So we grew the company almost by 40% on staff. We didn't grow that much in revenue, unfortunately, but for the first time in history, we closed a few projects that didn't really make the quality standards that we set up. So I think that as a company, we grew a lot, not on revenue, but in the way that our brand is perceived in the market.
Can you touch on those closed projects? Is there anything that was public?
Yeah, Magicka was public. Apart from that, there was nothing that we announced, but it's very important that we feel that the game is good and that is marketable and that people will like it when it comes out. So what we're showing here today during ParadoxCon is those are all games that we can stand behind that we're really proud of.
Does that mean that when you take that decision, is that also making you maybe talk about games a little bit at a later stage when you feel comfortable talking about them, or?
Yeah, announcing games at a later stage has a lot of advantages. First of all, you can show it to the public, you can let the press play it and see what they think, and it also means that you pretty much have a set schedule for when the game is going to be released to the market. And previously we've announced games like at the very early stage, and it creates an insecurity among the gamers as well, so they don't really know what to expect from Paradox. But I think we're getting over that hurdle now. In 2012 we kind of took the first steps.
So one of the themes here at the convention this year is Paradox. Well, you've been on tablets before, but this is like a proper push. Can you talk us through a little bit what the strategy is there?
Yeah, we wanted the game that was made only for tablets, and for that particular reason we chose Magicka to be that game, because Magicka is a game that fits very well for different types of audiences, and we could adapt it in a very good way to a tablet as well. And the chaotic gameplay they find in Magicka can also be found on the tablet version. When it comes to games like Warships Leviathan and a few of the other games that we're presenting here, it's more of a extended part of the PC or Mac version that we typically focus on. So what you're going to see more from Paradox are companion products that you see on tablets or on cell phones or anything. But PC gaming is still our focus. We're going to do more on support for gamepad as well. Doesn't mean we're going to turn into a console company, but it means that we're turning more into different types of gamers that can actually play our games.
Is that a result of where Steam is moving now these days? It's moving more towards the TV, or sort of turning the attention to the TV?
Yeah, part of it is what Steam is doing, obviously, because they're kind of in the forefront of PC gaming. But we've been talking about the gamepad specifically for over a year, and we are having more and more games that sports gamepad. If you take Dungeon Land was just released, it's a total gamepad game, and we're hoping to add it for several games in the current lineup as well. Like War of the Roses just announced that we have gamepad support in the Kingmaker edition, so a lot of games are going to support that as well.
One game that I was thinking would be a good fit is Showdown Effect, but then again you got that aiming reticule that sort of is integral to what that game is all about.
It is. We are still working on Showdown Effect to see what the gamepad support can actually be, but as you point out, it's mainly a PC game, although it looks like a console game. So you can say it's a console game dressed in a PC outfit.
Or a PC game in disguise.
PC game in disguise. That's not a bad description either.
So we've been talking a lot about this, but my feeling as well is that this convention also marks sort of not a return to form, because Paradox Development Studio have been doing great stuff for years, but really in terms of the number of games that are on display here, they have a larger presence than perhaps last year or the year before.
Yeah, we are trying to focus on fewer, bigger, bolder titles than we have in the past, and I mentioned Warships, Leviathan Warships before, and that's our first experiment with ubiquitous gaming, that you can play over like the PC against the Mac against a tablet, or save your game on the PC and continue playing on your iPad through cloud saves. And so we want to do fewer, better games. So that's the summary of Paradox at the moment. And it doesn't say that we're going to cut down on the number of games, but while we grow, I don't think we're going to increase the portfolio much.
There's a limit to the number of games you can release in a year.
There is a certain limit, and there's a certain limit to how much love you can actually give the game, because every game needs a lot of attention and a lot of caring. It's like a baby in itself. So if you don't get the love and attention for the game, it's not going to turn into a great product, even if the idea from the beginning is really good.
So, of course, what's on everyone's mind this year is, and you said it yourself in your speech, Year of the Hardware. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think in a way, this sort of the insecurity of what next gen on console is going to be like has sort of spawned these sort of hybrid things and sort of brought on that. What's the Paradox look at the situation right now?
Well, if I can make a wish list for upcoming consoles from Xbox and Sony, from Microsoft and Sony, I have two wishes. And the first one is that it's easier to publish content for the platforms, and it should be more digital focus. That's one wish. So maybe three wishes. The second one is digital focus, which should be obvious to anyone. Yeah. And the third wish then is a return to hardcore gaming, that you will please the hardcore gaming crowd first and foremost, because Steam is kind of taking over that crowd. And as much as I love Steam and the people working for Steam and their pioneer position in the gaming industry, I still think they need competition, and Microsoft and Sony are the ones who should provide that competition.
And of course, maybe that competition is going to come naturally with the advent of Steambox. Microsoft and Sony are going to have to look at them as competition in that sense.
Absolutely. The Steambox is still only rumors. So, but if there's any truth to it, and I guess there is, because rumors just start for a reason, right? And there was some company at CES actually announcing a cooperation with Valve. So then Microsoft and Sony has to take a really serious look at what they're doing and why they're doing things, and what they're going to focus on, what crowd they're actually going to please. Because I think it's hard to please everyone when you release a gaming hardware. And I hope, since we would gain from that they're going to focus more on the hardcore gamers.
But are you sort of actively looking at console ideas right now, or are you sort of waiting to see what's going to be of next gen?
Well, we have a bunch of games that work really well with consoles. You can take Dungeon Land as an example. You can take Showdown Effect. You can take War of the Roses would work perfectly on a console. So if we make an iteration like a sequel to one of those games or anything like that, it would fit really naturally to a next-gen console. But that's still just dreams and like hopes.
So you're bringing Magicka over to tablets, and there was a lot of talk about Magicka on console, and I even visited Arrowhead when they were working on sort of a prototype for console. What happened with that idea?
At first, it was a really great idea because it's basically made for a gamepad, and it just turned out that it didn't work out, and we didn't want to focus that time and effort on it. So what we said was that if there's a Magicka sequel, we might be doing that for console instead, and focus now on the Showdown Effect, which is the game that Arrowhead is now working on. So it was natural that we came to an agreement with Arrowhead that we won't continue this project. We'll put the people in another project instead.
Right. And you have more projects with Arrowhead that are going on in secret?
We do.
So another question is totally a different subject. Have you severed the ties with the Tale Worlds now, or are you possibly involved in a sequel there?
We haven't talked to Tale Worlds about that, so I can't really comment. We're still in discussions.
All right. Because I guess they're talking about Mountain Blade 2, sort of, a little bit teasing it.
Yeah. They're the owners of the Mountain Blade IP, and we're not, so they have all the rights in the world to talk about it.
All right. So looking ahead at 2013 for Paradox, you've sort of laid out like the first half of the year, you can say, or up until Europa Universalis 4. How do you feel about 2013, and do you think that it will be a year where you'll grow more in terms of revenue?
Yeah, I think that with the current team, we can grow another 40 to 50% on revenue. This year, we'll do 30 to 35%, I think. And that's pretty aggressive given the market and given what's happening with the console changes and everything. But from what I see, we have a perfect position because we can choose to go into next-gen console or choose to stay PC and stay in the safe zone. So if we want to really go all in on different platforms, we can make probably a much bigger market than we have currently.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.